Luke O'Shea has won 14 Golden Guitars, which is an extraordinary number, but it is well-deserved. His last album, There in the Ochre, won for Traditional Country Album of the Year. And this year, a single from that album, Long Way Around, won for Best Video. So that album is the gift that keeps on giving on the Golden Guitars front. Luke is now looking ahead to his next album, which is called Next Big Thing. And he's just released an outstanding single called Southeast Queensland, which we're going to talk about. Hello, Luke.
Hello, Sophie. How are you going?
I'm very well, thank you, and very pleased to have the chance to talk to you because I listen to your albums a lot, and There in the Ochre is one of my favourite albums of all time. So I may ask you some questions about that. In fact, I'm going to start with a more general question about your songwriting, which is to say that you have a knack for writing a powerful song, like emotionally powerful, lyrically powerful, which is related, obviously, and also in the way you sing, there's a lot of impact. This Southeast Queensland is one of the most powerful you've released. How did the writing of it come about?
It started when I was teamed up with Mitch Linden, who's a young farmer from Gatton, Southeast Queensland, actually. And I really find it's important for young artists in particular to have a song in their repertoire that really sings up where they're from. Mm-hmm. And the more we started to research it, the more we started to find out that these in his neighbourhood especially, there was two options. You kind of worked on the land and plowed through that, or you joined the ADF, the Australian Defence Force. And a lot of his mates have done that. And when you look at the statistics that have just actually come to light, where 1 in 4 people who enrol into the Australian Defence Force are from Southeast Queensland, that's an enormous piece of the pie. And given the scope of this country, it's just, we wanted to really sing up those remarkable people from a really powerful part of the country. And then the more we started to explore it, we realised that so many of these young people that were coming back, you know, because there's a massive investment to try and recruit these people and then train them up and then put them to work in some pretty horrible scenarios. That level of investment and care and time that's invested in those people then is not reciprocated when they return home and try and assimilate back into a normal society. And we were greatly inspired by Fred Smith and his amazing album, The Dust of Years Gone. And we drew on a lot of his lines in there where he really paints a very powerful portrait into what they experienced over there. And it helps us understand why it's so challenging to assimilate back into a normal society here. And so yeah, when you're dealing with a powerful region and a powerful message, then the only way to go is big. And I think we've achieved that in the studio, working with myself and Matt Bell and a whole range of great artists and musicians that I've come to get to know well over the years.
Yeah, my impression of you as an artist is that you don't take yourself too seriously, but you take your work very, very seriously. And I mean, I think you take yourself as an artist seriously, but does that make sense? And so the songs you produce, there's often a really light touch in some of them, but there is this real sense of responsibility, not in a heavy way, but in a really heartfelt way of telling stories that you come across to convey them to audiences and also put them on the record, I think.
Well, thank you, Sophie. That is very close to truth, what you just said there. And I think it's, I find a lot of joy in life, and I find a lot of satisfaction in what I do. And I love both my occupations, be it as a singer-songwriter in the Australian country scene and as a school teacher. And there's certain things that I see as big gaping holes in our education system that all Australians should really be aware of, and be it about, highlighting our Indigenous past, and or be it about, making sure that we commemorate certain days like the Anzac Day and not celebrate these occasions that were horrible events in our calendar. And or like we've seen with the latest Royal Commission into the dereliction of duty with the way that we've treated these returned veterans and from the previous government, and the horrible statistic that's screaming out right now. It's not in the past. This is not Vietnam we're talking about. This is humans and families out there right now that are suffering because of this bureaucracy and the incredible limbo state that they find themselves in. And because we don't really have an understanding of what they've been through, they're not really willing to open up and share what the trauma they're feeling. And if people shut down, then we're left with that horrible statistic, you know, whereby 41 Australians died in battle over there in the conflict, but more than 10 times that number have taken their own lives through suicide, PTSD, and that's unforgivable. You know, that's just not right, that we should just abandon these people, these Australians that represented us, and should not be made to feel alone and unsupported. And that's what this song's about. And it's right that it's in the media right now with the Royal Commission, and it's right that people are concerned enough about it to want to play this song and share its message. And the video that we've constructed with it is designed to share that experience. And I think Fred Smith said it best when he said, we don't need to lionize these people that when they return, we don't need to pity them, but we do need to have an understanding of what they went through in order to make them not feel lost the same way that the Vietnam veterans felt lost. So that was a generation ago. And so the more we can share in what they went through and the horrors that they saw, the more they might be able to let it out and discuss and talk to people about it rather than keep it inside. And hopefully the more urgency we place on making sure that they're looked after and supported.
Yeah. I also wonder if giving it a specific geographic location as you have, by identifying that there is this large population of service people from Southeast Queensland, it doesn't make it this generic returned person, like returned serviceman, returned servicewoman. It's actually, you know, you're putting us in the story there. You say, here is a place, there are people from this place. And again, that's the power of storytelling and the power of your songwriting, because you've done that in other songs as well. And with other parts of society, like Happy Australia Day, which you wrote and performed with Kevin Bennett, was very specific in its details. And I think a lot of people like me learnt a lot from that song. So I imagine that this song will do the same thing.
Well, hopefully so. You know, it's teaching in songwriting is not too different. You know, like you can't make it too easy. You have to kind of clothe the lesson in there and allow people to kind of come to it in their own discourse, in their conversation, with talking to other people about it. And I really love that challenge of being a school teacher and trying to get a concept across in a short amount of time. But as a songwriter, you're trying to get a big concept across in a 3.5 to 4 or 5 minute song. And that's a challenge. But what music does is allow you to tell a very big story in a very short amount of time and in a non-threatening way as well. You know, people don't feel like they've been hit over the head with a dogma or a law or your opinion if you put it to a song and a catchy melody. And so it does give you a lot of leeway in regards to getting your point of view across and perhaps changing somebody else's. Yeah.
Now, from memory, you produced There in the Ochre. So I'm wondering if you also produced this song on your and the new album.
Yeah, it was a great collaboration with a very long time collaborator with me, Matt Fell. And Matt Fell needs no introduction to you and all those wonderful listeners out there. He's really risen to the fore as being one of Australia's great musical producers, and he's currently moved down to Tasmania. And I've got a very clear vision on how I want things to sound, and I was able to capture that in a number of different studios around Australia, be it in Newcastle with the string quartet, working with Robbie Long up there, or with Michelle Rose and his pedal steel up in the studio in Brisbane, or Benji Pocock in his studio in Pomona as a guitarist, and drums with Glenn Wilson in Penrith. You know, this is the world we live in. You know, these musicians are going to pull the best sound that they can out of their own studios, where they know every nuance and crack. And they know their gear. And so with digital technology, we can pull all that together and then pass it on down to someone with the expertise and skills of Matt Fell, who can hear those frequencies that might need enhancing or adding to. And so it was a really rich and very satisfying collaboration with Matt Fell. And he lives with his beautiful partner, Amber, down there with his son Hank, down in this glorious place in Tasmania. And it's just powerful country, and it's very easy to get creative when you're inspired like that by the people in the surrounds.
And I was also thinking in terms of you working on the production, that you can have that whole sense of what the song could be, and that gives you more control, I guess, over how the message is delivered and how the entire story is delivered.
Well, it's taken 30 years. you got to learn something in those studios. And the thing is, because there are expensive spaces, you really have to really utilize your time well, and you really have to kind of make sure that it's you're dealing with the players that understand you and your sound and the message and the ability to just play the song and the characters within the song. And that's a rare thing. And it's something that takes you a long time to find those incredible musicians. And when you do, you really are able to create a body of work that you're proud of. And I really am happy with the production of this whole album that I can't wait to share with you.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to hearing it, although I personally feel it will be hard to top There in the Ochre, but I remain open to persuasion. Let's see. Now, part of your skill and talent as an artist is that you create songs that are about day-to-day life as well as about the sorts of issues we've just been talking about. And each song has the same weight, whether it's just a small slice of someone's life or it's Southeast Queensland. I'm wondering if you approach each song as if it's personal, like every single story you're telling is personal, or if you approach each as if it's universal or potentially universal in its impact.
Right, another great question, Soph. It must have some relevance to me in order for me to sing it. If it doesn't connect with my heart, then I won't be able to sing it with sincerity. And if it lacks sincerity, then what's the point? You know what I mean? I have to believe it. And so I've had the pleasure of, living all around this planet. And you do find that there are universal truths that link us all as humans. And it's when you have an understanding of those, it's pretty easy to come up with a very personal song that you feel it will relate to a lot of people out there, regardless of socioeconomic background or gender or culture, creed, religion, whatever. The truth should still shine through. And then, that was the case with, say, The Old Man's Shed, singing up, written with Johnny Casuljan as a childhood mate of mine. And we wanted to sing up our dads, who were very similar and come from that generation of pre-Bunnings Australia. And it's so kind of laughable because you know exactly what I mean. That generation of the impeccable shed of the tools that were rarely lent. That's so personal, but so relatable to so many people out there. Yeah. And when you find those stories and are able to make them feel personal to a complete stranger, then that's my job well done. And that's the satisfaction that I do feel when a song does connect like that.
I think you also make place feel personal because you're really great at evoking place. In a song like Coastal Town, you immediately put us in that scene. It happens in all sorts of songs that you write. So I'm wondering if you actually imagine those places when you're writing about them. Obviously, some of them are drawn from your experiences, but if in a song like Coastal Town, where it's a whole little world in a shop, where do you picture that?
It's a question that I always ask, no matter what town I go into when I'm on the road. It's you always call into the bakery to get a pie and a coffee, and it's the first question that always cracks me up is, well, what pies you got left?
Yeah, right.
And you could just see the boredom of the woman, and it's always this beautiful little bored out of her mind kind of coastal girl that's just working there, just going, here's that damn question again. There must be more to life than saying just plain, or steak and kidney. It's always the steak and kidney pie. Who eats that? But it's just about finding those things which I do find fascinating and funny. But there is always, I think, underlying in the song a little spark to remind people of their mortality and also of their spiritual essence. It's mortality is the greatest catalyst for change. If you're not happy where you are, then do something about it. But also, if you're not happy where you are, just be aware of the fact that you're going to die one day. So don't dilly-dally, get a move on. And nobody quite knows where it is. And it's not something to be feared, dying. It's just something that's part of life. But it's it's only when you kind of make people aware of it in a non-threatening way that you can kind of maybe inspire somebody to do something. And that's our job as humans, is just to inspire others to strive to be better, be an inspiration to themselves and be an inspiration to others, and pass it along. So you do kind of find, or you do hope to find, that little spark in each song where there is a little message in there that if they do take the time, they might want to take it to heart. But if they don't, then it's still a groovy little tune that they can maybe tap the steering wheel to a little bit down the track. So I try and cover a few different levels. I mean, it's nice when people pick up on all the frequencies, you know, because you do, as a songwriter, aim, if you want to speak energy wise and spirit wise, you know, we got the chakras, you know, you got your root chakra down below, and you can aim a song straight for the hips, you know, and put a lot of beat in it, put a lot of drum and percussion in it. And that's a great zone to aim for, because it fills the dance floor up. But then you want to hit them in the heart, and you want to give them a song which will just really pull at those heartstrings, or you can aim at the throat and give that emotion, and then you can aim at the mind and paint imagery. And sometimes you can write a song that will connect a whole bunch of those chakras up, and then you got a complete song. And that's there's a skill and a craft to it, and it's something that I find eternally fascinating.
Well, and a skill and a craft that certain practitioners have developed thousands of years ago. Actually, they have the level of mantra, working on certain chakras in the body, sound resonances, doing all sorts of things. I am a yoga teacher in my spare time, so I understand what you're talking about. But I also think, in your songs, there's definitely a sense of appreciating every day and not wasting any time with those things you just talked about. You know, mortality is there for everyone, and if you don't like something, change it, because you will die one day and we don't know when it is. So I think that skill you have in putting details into songs so that we can notice them in the songs, and that conveys the message in and of itself. It's like, be present today, notice what's going on, and embrace this day, for that's all you have.
Like, who knows, you might be sitting at a bus stop in Engadine and going, well, you know, who knows, that bus might just skip the curb and just take me out. Hope it doesn't. So live the life you want to live, and be brave, and don't, you know, the hardest bit, and even for me, you know, we live in a world of constant want. I want, because social media in particular has been brilliant at exposing everything that we don't have, all the festivals that I'm not invited to, and all the kind of stages that I wanted to play at, that car I want, and that shoes I want, and that party that I wasn't invited to. And, you know, it's a massive world of suffering that we have at the moment because of everything we're exposed to and that we don't have. And the only way to defeat that level of suffering is to develop gratitude and appreciation for what we do have. And the only way that we can do that is to kind of carve out space to be mindful and slow ourselves down. And the thing I'm most appreciative about country music is that it's made for people when they've got some time to listen. And that's why country people out in the rural areas, they've got the time to drive long distances and absorb the stories. And, you know, whereby in the cities, we're so time poor that, you know, I've got no time to listen to the third verse of that song, and that's where the power is, you know, then that third verse of the country song, that's where it all comes together. You got any good stories, but it's orientation, it's complication, and it's resolution. Doesn't matter if you're the gambler, or it doesn't matter if you're kind of, you know, friends in low places. It's every great country song, it's got that setting, the complication, and then the resolution in a great way. And that's what makes country music so cool. I love it as a storyteller.
Well, I am now going to listen to songs in a whole different way, because as many songs as I've listened to, I've never thought of them like that. So now I will. Yeah,
it's like reading the book. You're not going to watch a movie where just nothing happens. You know, you need that. So that's what makes a story. And, you know, if we can incorporate a nice message in that story, then it's a job well done.
And now I do have to ask, the lovely Lin Beitel was on 3 songs in There in the Ochre, and I saw you two on tour together, and it was fantastic double act, because you're both very, very funny. So I'm wondering if Lin gets to reprise her presence on your next album.
No, she's sacked. She's gone.
Oh,
gone.
Shame.
Yeah. Actually, hope she's okay. bloody hurt her arm the other day. Oh, I need to wrap her in bubble wrap. I'm worried about her. I said, serves you right for going on the road without me. But no, Ashley Dallas, she's we got a little duet there again with and the female vocal that I was speaking to her today, actually, she's up in Cronulla, and she's in Canberra, Dana Hassel. She does a lot of back VVs on this album because she's got this really unique tone. She's a great singer-songwriter in her own right. I just love her tone. It's so distinct. And so she does a lot of the backing vocals on this new album. And Jen Myers joins me on one, which is a bit of a silly song, you know, I Don't Bounce Back, which is all about, you know, getting older and thinking that you're still kind of 21 and, you know, when you tell yourself that's the last time, but, you know, you find yourself thinking that the devil's saying, yeah, go for it. Tequila. What could possibly go wrong? I go, hey, there's a bus. Going to Warrenora. Might hop on that one.
Well, at least it's staying on the road and not up on the curb.
Yeah, that's a good sign. Well, there is a pole there, so that's that. But yeah, no, it's good light here though. It wasn't going to be any good light. I was in transit, folks. So it's not normally in my abode, hanging out in a bus shelter.
But the light is very, very good. And I should mention that Ashley Dallas was performed on You with Long Way Around, which won the video of the year, Golden Guitar for video of the year. I'm wondering if it was more fun making the video or recording the song with her.
Look, both. You know, Ash is just, she overflows with light and love and giggles. You know, she's so naughty too. She's a naughty person. But she gets away with it because she's got that cute little cheeky monkey vibe about it. But it was a great day. I was exhausted though. Jay Sini and Ashley Dallas, wow, they just kept going like they're ever eating bunnies, you know. And I was going. And the thing is, I kind of choreographed the dance, knowing that Ash was really clever, and Ash is really clever, and with dancing, and I can kind of move, but I didn't practice singing the song and moving. Which are two separate things. And as a male, there's one thing I can do at a time. And so when it was time for me to kind of move and dance and sing, I was hopeless. And so thankfully Ash kind of saved the day, and Jay was so patient. And but yeah, over 50 different locations and 50 different takes. And the beauty of the New England region is that no matter where you point the camera, you're going to get gold. You know, it's just so stunningly geographically beautiful that we didn't have to do much, just let the landscape, you know, connect with people out there, and it was fun.
Yeah, it's a great fun video. If anyone's watching who hasn't seen it, they should immediately. Now, I was interested to see that in November you were playing at the Nindy Gully Pig Races. Yeah,
I love Nindy Gully. Nindy Gully is an adventure. It's such an amazing place, and pretty much in the middle of nowhere, but that's part of the journey. It's such a destination. You get there and it's just filled with enthusiasm and great people, and I really kind of encourage you to get out there.
I had no idea pig races existed, so there you go. And also you'll be back at Tamworth at the Services Club, which is your venue. I don't know that anyone should ever dare to play at the Services Club during the festival, because it's been Luke O'Shane and Medicine Wheel for a long, long time. And I imagine by now you have regular audience members who come back to see you every year.
Well, it's just allowed me to be the artist that I've wanted to try and be. And that's, it's an air-conditioned venue right in the heart of Tamworth, beer and glasses, a brilliant PA, and downstairs, dark. It's just a perfect space to tell stories and connect, you know. And I had decades of trying to make people dance, you know, and radios and BNSs and closing major festival stages, and that's a lot of fun. But we find that the greatest connection comes when people can actually listen and sit and not feel threatened to just sit and go, wow, I want to take in that musicianship and take in that story. And so it's allowed me just to kind of escape that world of covers and happen to kind of make people move and dance and just be okay with sitting and taking in a story. And so it's a very special venue to me, and the people there that run it, Brooks and his great staff, have just been integral to me developing as a songwriter, and I'm very grateful to them.
We'll be back there for 4 shows, I think, or 4. It's not just a show. I think it's several hours at a time that you're there, so people can catch you then. And of course, we have new music to look forward to from you. But for the moment, I should let you get back in your car and move on from the bus stop. So thank you.
People have been looking at me funny. I'm just kind of saying, oh, well, it's a pretty lonely little street, but what's that weird guy doing speaking to nobody? Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for stopping. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, you too, sir. Thank you for everything that you've been doing in support of my music and understanding, the craft of the songwriting that goes into it. And, it means a lot. It's appreciated.
Well, it's my pleasure as a listener. It's always an absolute treat to listen to your music. So thank you.
All the best. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you down the road.
Okay, bye.